Hello guys and welcome to another video. In this video, I drew Godzilla and Mothra from the Monsterverse. To start off with Mothra first, I have always loved Mothra as a character when I first saw her in Godzilla King of the Monsters because I've been in this franchise for like less than 4 years because I joined when I had watched Godzilla vs. Kong, so a little bit new. But I have watched a lot of the originals because I figured I can't just watch the Monsterverse because that's just not it for me. And I fell in love with her in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then I watched the originals and I was like, oh my gosh, she's still really cool. She doesn't look as like scary because she's literally a ball of fluff, but I still think that she's really cool. And I always loved seeing her coming on screen because I was like, oh man, there she is. And she looks so unintimidating, but then she would just come in and just boom, take out whoever it was. And I was like, that is so cool. So drawing her was really fun because I've always loved Mothra because she always had this caring nature to her, but like if you mess with me, you're done. It's over. But drawing her was fun. It didn't take me as long to do her coloring and shading and highlights and stuff because I kind of knew what I wanted her mostly to look like. And most part of her and most of the references I had were all very similar. So I didn't have a bunch of different color palettes to go from, which was great, which is fine by me. I love like piercing teal, cyan, like blue eyes that she has. They're just so striking and just like they pull you in because like her body's more of a not neutral color, but it doesn't stick out as much as like when she has her wings and it's like boom color with like the blues and the yellows and the oranges and the red, but like eyes just draw you in, which I think is really cool. So she was fun to draw. Now Godzilla, I have always thought he was cool. I love every rendition of him, every version. Now, I mean, Shin is a little bit scary looking. Not like scary, but he's just special. And he has a special place in my heart. He's just different. But the Monsterverse version of Goji, I do like a lot. I think they did a really good job with it. You know, especially with the dorsal plates, how different directors would bring different designs from the original movies. I absolutely love that. I'm a nerd for this stuff, so I was like geeking out, loving it. But I did like new look because it looked very new and very intimidating, but like, it was still like Godzilla. And I especially love how in the Monsterverse movies, he's like this balance of the forces of nature. He brings the balance between humanity and nature, and he just does his job, which it's so frustrating in these movies when people just mess things up, and I'm just like, why? You could have done literally nothing and everything would have been fine. There would have been so much less conflict and a lot less destruction if y'all had just stuck to your own and not messed with Monarch, which I mean is different for Legacy of Monsters, where Monarch's doing crazy things, but not gonna spoil that for those who have not seen it. Anyways, drawing Godzilla's Monsterverse version was a bit tricky because the proportions never really seemed right for me, and the shading was an absolute nightmare. I kept changing the color, the base color, and then the undertones and the shadows and the highlights and everything. I didn't like how it looked. I was like, oh, this doesn't look good. This isn't like Godzilla. It looks too light, or it looks too dark, or it just looks weird, or the shading looks off, or it just never looked like how I wanted to. But I was very proud of the gills, I will say. I did those and I was like, oh, this looks cool, because it looked very roughed up and very natural. I was like, that looks cool. Which took me a while to shade because of their shape, and I wanted to make sure the shadows fit the shape, not precisely, because I didn't want it to look too perfect, because things in nature aren't perfect. But I like how the shading turned out. I probably could have added more shading, perhaps, and maybe some more lines of detail across his scales. I like the color of the underbelly that I chose. And oh man, I went over the whole drawing of him, at least, with a different color brown. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is perfect. And so when I had finished all of it and I looked at it, I was like, oh man, I did this. And it was done. And I was very proud of it, for the most part. But yeah, that was my process. Thank you for letting me rant. Until next time, guys. And God bless.